Hello and welcome. I'm Arkayla. I'm a shamanic healer, an alchemist and a channel. And every single week I do an oracle card reading to offer you some guidance and support for your week ahead. And before I dive into this week, I want to share that there are still a few spots left in my circle of 12 that I am calling forth to travel with in the first 3 months of this calendar year. And I say calendar year because the astrological new year is actually in the end of March, beginning of April. And part of the journey that will be going on as part of the Sacred Alchemy Circle is to really bring into completion and culmination 2024 still in these 3 months leading up to the astrological new year, so that we can actually really start 2025, the astrological year of 2025, from a very powerful and embodied space. Because the Sacred Alchemy Circle is about helping you really step into that multidimensional version of yourself. It's about understanding the power of the avatar that you really are, understanding how to perform alchemy, which is moving your energetic being from one state into another. It is about normalizing being a multidimensional being in your everyday life, doing it in the beautiful intimate container of 12 people and me. So there'll be 13 of us all together, a very sacred number. So if this is something that you're interested in, please check out www.arkayla.love/circle and see if this is something that calls to you. In the meantime, for this week, I'm going to be reading from The Law of Positivism pack by Shireen Oberg, which looks like this. It's a really beautiful pack. I like using cards that have lots of illustration, lots of imagery, because it helps my reading. And so I have 3 cards. If you want to choose a number intuitively, whatever number feels right to you, and go straight to your card reading, you can do so by looking at the copy below this video and just select the card number that you've chosen under the timestamps, and it will link you directly to your reading, so you don't have to watch all of them. If you would like to watch more than one reading and you feel that that would be helpful, then by all means do so. I will see you at your reading. If you chose card number 1, this is your reading. This is your card. And so what's coming through here, you're experiencing a lot of activation energy. And if you haven't already watched my reading for 2025, I really recommend that you do, because it speaks a bit to this energy that comes through in January of this calendar year. And what that activation energy is really doing is pulsing through very key energetic portals in your energy body, and that is activating different parts of you that have not yet been activated in this lifetime. And in the process of that occurring, parts of you that will be holding a lot of constriction due to past life experiences and childhood experiences will be feeling uncomfortable. You may be slightly unwell, in fact, in some ways. And this is because these parts of you that are being energized and activated are moving into a different frequency. And as they do that, the older energy that they've been sitting in will be really elevated as it kind of gets shaken out of your system, expressed and transformed in your system. And so you might be feeling a bit physically less than 100 right now, and that would be totally understandable. But really the guidance is to trust the process, because actually a lot of these energy centers have been out of alignment, as I said, your entire life in some cases. And so what's happening is they're all being brought into alignment as they go through this healing, this transformation period. And there's not really anything you could or should do about this. It's really about just observing what comes up for you, as it will be bringing up emotional wounds that you may have done a lot of work on, or that might even be very new for you or surprising. However it might manifest for you and however you might be feeling right now, this is hopefully going to give you the context that something really wonderful is actually playing out physically and maybe mentally, emotionally as well. And to really trust this process. I say mentally, emotionally because often when we are transforming something physically, it has a direct knock-on effect of our mental, emotional state, as there's a detox aspect to it. And that detoxing is really an emotional detoxing that's manifesting physically. And so your whole being might, as I said, be a bit out of kilter. But there's nothing to panic about. It's more about trusting the process and knowing that you're really being aligned for the energy that's going to be coming through very strongly this year in order to help you have a more aligned and gentle experience, actually. Because those people who are not experiencing this are going to go through this process in a more elongated fashion throughout the year, as the energies that flow through this year are going to help them shift in the same way you're doing right now, but on a bigger curve of time. So it will be more gentle in some ways, but also a lot more challenging in many ways, because their ability to transform is not quite as well tuned as yours has become, and that's why it needs to go on this longer curve or longer arc of time. The energy of emergence is present here as well. And so while these new alignments are being created within you, what is going to happen is that there will be an opening within your psychic energy body that is going to allow for your soul self to emerge with greater clarity. And this is going to really happen in this upcoming week in a very strong way. So it might be punchy to start with, but what it should start to align gently towards the end of the week as we get closer to the full moon, actually. And that full moon energy is going to really support this emergence that's occurring. There's going to allow that greater clarity of connection between you and your soul self. And if this is something that you've been wanting to work on for a while, wanting to connect with in a more powerful way for a while, then I would recommend the Sacred Alchemy Circle, because this is something we're going to really be focusing on, helping everyone in the circle become much more aligned with their soul selves, much more able to connect with that part of themselves, their intuition, on a day-to-day basis. So if that's something you want to look at, please go to my website, www.arkayla.love/circle, and that will really help you. And I look forward to doing it with you, because we'll be journeying together. I'm just going to see if there's any final messages coming through. So with this emergence, what they're also indicating is that there might be quite a shedding, a letting go, as you step into greater clarity about who you are and what you do and what your soul self is really calling forward for you in this lifetime. You might find that old relationships, old friendships, old circles that you've been potentially very invested in suddenly start to appear less attractive and less magnetic for you. And not to get too caught up in that 3D obligatory energy. We've been friends for years, therefore we will continue to be friends, and I must strive to maintain this friendship. This is a very old paradigm way of thinking and behaving, simply because it comes from a place of non-authenticity. It comes from a place of obligation, a place of feeling that you have to be in a certain way, have to behave in a certain way to do the right thing. Actually, the reverse is true. The more aligned you can just be with where you're at, your soul's intention in this moment, the better for everybody involved, actually, in spite of how people may or may not react to that. Because the more authentic, the more heart-led, the more true you can be with yourself from this point forward, the easier your life will be and the more enjoyable. And so do allow yourself to create space. It doesn't mean you need to turn around to lots of people and tell them that they're out of your life. Far from it, because the reality is you may come back into alignment with them at some point at the perfect time, if necessary, in this lifetime or not. So what I suggest is that you just allow some space to develop. You just follow your instincts. You'll be pulled to other people. You'll be magnetized to other people. Trust that. Trust that these people are right for you at this point in your journey. And as I said, you may reconnect with these others at some other point. And that will be perfect too. But just allow the flow of life to move through you with ease, and don't stick to these old paradigm structures of who you should or shouldn't be. That is no longer necessary or healthy for anybody. So I hope that this is helpful. As I said, if you're looking for that clearer connection with your intuition, with your soul self, with clarity around who you are and your future, then do check out the Sacred Alchemy Circle. I feel like you're really lined up well for that. And otherwise, I wish you a beautiful week, and I'll see you again soon. Lots of love. If you chose card number 2, this is your card. And so the energy of this card really strongly speaks to the energy of creation. Really big creation energy coming through you. And this is actually also in keeping with the awakening energy that's moving through this calendar month of January, because I don't know if you've seen the 2025 reading that I've done for this year, but activation energy in January was one of the themes that was very clear. And you are definitely feeling that flow. And what's happening here, there's this particular focus around your hands. And really, I feel what this is about, I mean, it could be very practical, like you may have a very clear understanding of what that means. But what I'm really understanding here is this level of giving yourself permission to create. And if you've not really considered yourself to be a very creative person, that perspective of yourself is going to shift dramatically if it hasn't started to already this year. And if you are a creative person, this is only going to speak to you having a shift in your creative perspective. I feel like a new portal of awareness is opening up for you, and you're going to really start to see or receive ideas about showing up in your creative way from a very new perspective. So to give you an example, if you've been an illustrator as a profession for many years, maybe you're starting to get lots of strong ideas about dress design or gardening. There'll be some new perspective that's coming through that's really inspiring you. And this theme of inspiration is also very important, because there's a shift you're going through from one world to another, you could say, from old energy to the new paradigm. And for some of you, this is going to be a really uncomfortable period, because it will feel as though you're very lost and you don't really know where you're going or how you're meant to be doing life, really. But this period is actually very powerful and very necessary, because it's really helping you detach from the way that you have shown up in your creative space, and is giving you this period of time to shed and let go of these actual emotional attachments that you've had to the idea of who you are and what you are. And so this time is very powerful and necessary, because as you move through it, though it's an uncomfortable period and you feel a bit at odds with yourself because you're not really sure where you sit or even who you are, maybe, it's really allowing this unfolding to take place, which is creating an opening for this new energy to start to move through you, for these moments of inspiration to start making themselves apparent. And this is really how this is going to work. It's what's coming is going to move through you in such a strong and clear and delightful way. And so really, what's occurring at the moment is the space that's being created for that to happen. And so as you're shifting from this old to new energy, it's really important to trust this process, to give yourself permission, as I said earlier, to let go of what has been, and let go of the version of you that you have been embodying, and to allow space for this new version of you, this new understanding of you to take shape. And so really what's coming through for this week is actually a mantra, and it speaks to, I allow my North Star to present itself to me. And North Star, if you're not familiar with the term, is often used as a reference to knowing your way, knowing your direction. I follow my North Star. And so allowing your North Star to reveal itself to you is actually a very powerful invitation, because what it speaks to is trusting that what is occurring is coming from a place deep within you. And actually this is really being shown to me very clearly, because a lot of what's being activated is actually being seeded from past life experience, from very ancient wisdom that you have access to in your soul self. And so all of this new creativity, or this desire for creativity, whatever stage you're at in terms of what you're moving into, it's really coming from this very grounded place within you, though it may not feel that right now. This is why the trust is necessary. It really is coming from a very grounded and strong place. And that's why this transition is so unavoidable, because what's coming through and what's taking place is part of your experience in this lifetime. It's what your soul has signed up for, because there was a great shift called in for you in this experience that is going to allow so much more freedom and joy and childlike wonder to take place in your experience. And this childlike wonder I want to lean into a bit, because we've been so conditioned to have a plan, to know what we're doing, to feel a sense of doing well in the eyes of others. But really, you're being invited to let go of all of this. And that's challenging, because it's a really big thing to let go of such long-held conditioning and understandings of who we are. But you're ready for this. That's why you're here and experiencing it, because on a soul level, your heart is ready to sing a new song, a song that comes from the depths of your being. And so it is a very exciting time. And as I said, the guidance is to really allow my North Star to show me the way. So just say that this week, I allow my North Star to show me the way. And that's really fermenting this permission you're giving yourself to let this new understanding of who you are and what's coming through you, because that's really what's happening here. This space is being made for the energy of the universe to move through you in such a beautiful way, and you're going to synthesize it through the life experience you've had in this life and many others. You're going to synthesize this universal song that wants to move through you, and through the creation, the divine inspiration that's going to come with that, you're going to share with the world your joy, your soul song, and then the universe is expressing itself through you in this very unique and beautiful experience, and that makes the world richer. So that's what's occurring. And so wherever you are in your journey of moving into the fullness of embracing your soul song, do trust this. That's what's coming through, is trust whatever might be uncomfortable, or trust the rush of inspiration that might be occurring, because this is what's being called in for you. And if you're really walking through the depths of your not knowing and using the mantra, I allow my North Star to show me the way, should really give you some support. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you again next week. If you chose card number 3, this is your card. And so what's coming through with this card is this very strong sense of the wheel of time. New beginnings and endings taking place. But what's coming up very clearly is this invitation to really honor the endings. It's very pertinent at this January time, because we're really led to line up with this whole calendar new year. It's a new year, we start a new way, and the reality is that actually the astrological new year is end of March, beginning of April, and January, February, March can be used as months to really bring into completion the last year and to sow the seeds of what's coming through for the current year. And I feel that this is a really big invitation for you, and something that, as I said, is coming through really clearly is this invitation to honor and sit with what you're bringing into a place of closure, because there's a lot of wisdom there for you. And wisdom is very big here. There is a real shift occurring in you where you're stepping into this much deeper understanding of who you are on an eldership level, on a wisdom level. And by giving yourself permission to observe what is coming into completion at this time, and all the gifts that these cycles that are completing now have offered you, rather than perhaps looking back on a period and saying, oh my God, thank goodness that's over, that was really hard. Taking the time to look for, what did I gain? What was the gift in this perhaps challenging journey? And how did I change? What did it bring me? What change in me took place because of this potentially harrowing experience? I lost my father at the end of last year, and that experience transformed my relationship with the divine masculine. It was a very painful, but also incredibly empowering and clarifying time for me. And when I look back at that period, I have so much gratitude for everything that took place, along with all the other emotions that are present. But this is what the invitation for you is, to just look back at what's taken place. If 2024 was a deeply challenging year, please take the time to look back at it and see what the gifts were, because not only will they help you honor yourself for your ability to navigate that journey, it will also help you understand what it is you're being invited to sow the seeds for in this upcoming year. And if you really want to line up with that, my Sacred Alchemy Circle, which I'm starting on January 18th, is all about really honoring that multidimensionality into your everyday. That's really the core of that journey. So you can check that out at www.arkayla.love/circle if that's calling to you, if you want to look at or learn alchemy and really start to embody yourself on a multidimensional plane whilst being in the 3D world. So now I want to talk a bit to the beginnings, because that's all. You cannot have the end without the beginning. It's impossible. And this is why when clients come to me and say, this really disastrous thing is taking place, I often will say, fantastic. It's a portal to something really magnificent. So let's just see it from that place. Let's move through this with as much grace and as much holding of ourselves as we can, to allow this portal, this doorway, because endings are doorways to beginnings. So destruction is always a doorway to creation. And what's coming through on this card is the new beginnings that are coming in for you are so magical and really new. I feel like there's going to be a 180-degree shift in your life pathway. So whatever it is you've been doing, just give yourself permission to open the doorway for something completely new to show up, because this is why this invitation to honor what has been is so strong. Because when we do that, that's when we really put things to bed, and that's when we create this really fertile soil for change. And the level of change for you is significant. So to just bring this into this week, I always get carried away. The guidance that's coming through is trust the magic in life. Now, this might seem very sort of ethereal and not really something to hold on to, but actually that's sort of what the message is. Let there be space. Let there be time. Reflection. Let yourself reflect this week, because our reflection is so much more powerful than we give it credit for. When we give ourselves time to reflect on things, that's when they're allowed to really seep into our being and come into a place of completion. And so let yourself reflect and ask yourself the questions that I've kind of discussed already around, What did this teach me? How have I shown up? How have I changed? How can I honor that? How can I honor me? And as you do this, there's going to be this really magical opening that starts to articulate itself in your energetic body. So do trust the process and allow space and time for reflection this week. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you again next week. Lots of love.